Hello everyone, this is Johnny from BallBreakers Clan, bringing you another video sponsored by Ultimate Golf and Miniclip.com. If you'd like to join us and play along, you can find the download link in the video description. There's also some links to some great resources from other streamers in the description as well. Please check those out, give them a like and a sub as well. So what I'm going to do for this stream is play the Ultimate Golf Red and Blue. So let's go ahead and take a look at the blue. So it looks like the bracket's pretty full. And we have a couple people who had one extra. Now generally, I don't use better balls for the red and blue, just because if we look at the payouts, it's just a diamond bag. You get the same diamond bag, just a little bit difference in coins. So I will use some Pro D1s, but I probably won't use any wind balls. So up first, we have a par 4 cross with a slight tail. I don't think we'll be able to drive this. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to try the Bigfoot method, which is where you try to shoot into Bigfoot range and use that. So it looks like mid Bigfoot is about that far. So if I wanted to shoot into mid Bigfoot range, I need to be around right here. So I'm gonna pull back just a little bit. Let me grab a Pro D1. I'm going to use back and a little bit of left spin. And I'm going to adjust 3.1 rings. So hopefully our measurement is approximately correct, and we should be somewhere in the mid to max Bigfoot range. Now a lot of people have their Bigfoot really well categorized, which is why they play this method. And if you look, we're right at max. So we're going to pull back and we're going to start our aiming at the 1.5 rings. We got a slight tail, so we're going to take some secondary bounce into effect there, or secondary wind push, I'm sorry. And we're going to set up about 1.9 rings from the first bounce. So what I'm trying to do now is line my ball guide up. So that I know that I'm going into the cup and not to the left or the right of it. And at 5.6, I'm going to adjust 4.1. We do hit ultimate shot. Our first bounce lands right where we were aiming, but we were just a tad over adjusted and a little bit more secondary push. So if we had set that up at say 2.2 rings from the first bounce and lined up a little bit better on the cup, or 2.2 rings, and then only did a 4-ring adjustment. But our first bounce was the length that we were aiming. It's just that rollout. And once you get a higher Bigfoot, you'll be able to see where that second bounce is a little better and better estimate how far you need to be from the first bounce. We're a little bit in between clubs, so what we're going to do is we're just going to bounce up and try to put it in the vicinity instead of using a club where we're going to adjust into the min. So we're looking fairly straight on our bounce towards the cup there. We have a fairly straight wind that's going to push it behind it. I'm going to add one more back, and I'm going to adjust 4.6 rings. So there's 4. There's 0.6. And hopefully we'll stop, pretty close, maybe just short. If this was a bigger tournament, I probably would have used a wind ball there to reduce the secondary push from the wind. And maybe even used a higher power percentage ball so I could set up a little closer with a little more back and just have a little more control. Alright, so par 5. Anyone who's played this knows it can be a little tough. You have to watch out for that tree on the left because it can snag you on your second shot. So we're going to try to roll up, stay as far right as possible. So for our second shot, let's see how much room we have from this tree. So you can see if I stayed right, the tree's not going to come into account for the adjustment. You can go left, but look when I put this side spin on it, even all the way set up at the left edge, I'm going to need curl and very precise turning. Whereas if I go from the right side here, I have a little bit more room to, for rolling up onto the green and a little bit more room for curl. So we're going to go the left side. It's a headwind. So I'm going to pull back a little bit and use 5 top, so I can give myself some room to adjust. So 2.5 rings here. You see we didn't clip that tree, but had we been too far left, that tree comes into play. And it's not exactly a huge tiebreaker, but it's a putt on a very tough par 5. Now moving on to hole 4. So we have a headwind. We already know from previously that we need to be short of this shadow in order to be in Bigfoot range. Since it's a headwind, and we got plenty of room to stay short of that shadow. I'm not going to overpower, but I am going to use max top. And we should roll up and be within Bigfoot range. So there's men on the Bigfoot. Little piece of advice: if you're having trouble with your min Bigfoot due to your short iron, back out, switch to a basic short iron, and you'll get a little bit more room, which is what we're going to do here because we really want to set up at that min. Alright, so you see now our Bigfoot can actually go all the way down to here in our adjustment, whereas before we were right up on it. So that gives us more room. Now this is a headwind. Let's look at our bounce. We have the wider arc bounce. That's at about 2 rings. But with the headwind, I'm going to push up to 1.8. Let's start by straightening out our ball guide. Looks like we need about 1 right. We are going to adjust 4.5 rings. give it just a little extra and go to 4.6. So there's 4. .6. Right over the left edge of the hedge. So 2.1 rings again on the longer bounce out, even in the headwind. Using that second bounce location when it's at max back is a really good idea of how far you're going to roll out. So I myself do not like the El Capitan there, so I'm going to switch to the root just so I can try to hold it a little better. As you can see, the root has 90 backspin at level 6. Oh, I must have forgot to switch. I haven't been using the root as much, so I'm not exactly sure if I remember the bounce as well. So I'm going to use the 2.2. A little bit of a tail. Let's go 2.5. As you can see from the second bounce, it's going to bounce off to the right. So we're going to use some left spin to straighten that up a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to use 5 rings. So there's 3. Right over the hole again. So good adjustment. We just needed a little further back. or a little bit of underpower, maybe just to the ring. Okay, on to hole number 6. Hey Vivek, thanks for the good luck. Ofer, thanks for the good luck as well. So that same par 5 as earlier. Remember, we have to keep to the right because we want to avoid that tree on the second shot. This time we have a little bit of left to right push. Thanks, Vivek. I'm doing okay. I still need 3 more wins to hit my 2,000. No, Ofer, I did not medal in expert. All of them fell, just shy. And my tier 2, my tier 1 was pretty far back, 14th, and my tier 3s were way back. Because I didn't break minus 30. So I'm going to do 3.6 rings. And I'm going to take this back to max. But I'm not going to overpower. Which bracket did I get you in? Which account? Was it the one where I got 5th? Oh, minus 20, finished 9th. Minus 27. Alright, so this time, with a little further drive, and we have the route here. There's the max route. Let's look at our bounce out. You notice, compared to that last one, it's got a higher arc, and it looks like it's going to end in about the middle of this ring. So that's not going to roll out as far as the last one we did. So we're going to set this up at 2, because we're still going to get some secondary push from the wind. Whereas we needed about 2.8 last time. Hey Radu, thanks for the good luck. So as you can see, once we line this up, when it does bounce, it's going to bounce off to the left as well. So I'm going to use a little right spin, try to straighten those bounces up to keep us a little closer to the pin and give us a better chance at the albatross. And 6.6, I'm going to adjust 5.4. So there's 4. And there's 1.4 for 5.4. Royale starts in 6 minutes. Sure, I'll join. So still just a little left on that because of the kick, and probably over adjusted a little bit. Let me know in about a minute, Radu. See if I can get through this tournament in that time. Still need one drop to have a chance at first. And we have 3 holes to try to get it. So we have par 4. I have a tailwind. If I'm right below the tree near the tip of this, that's going to be Bigfoot range. So I'm going to put some backspin, some left spin. Plan on an adjustment of about 3 rings. I'm not going to overpower. In fact, I'm going to underpower a little bit and see if I can have that in about max Bigfoot range. So there's our Bigfoot. So there's max. There's min. So that's maybe 70, 60, 70%. Now the Bigfoot doesn't have a lot of change. So on a 5.9, you know, if you're at 70%, it's like 0.2 less, 0.1 less. I'll go, since it's a tailwind, with 0.1 less, and I'll adjust 4.3 rings. We'll see, right? Hopefully we can still at least get some top 10s in there. I'm not expecting a whole lot. So let's look at this rollout, this bounce. From this arc, you can see it's a little flatter, and it's not landing at the 1.5. So it's going to be more of a 2.5. Now that we have about how far we want it to roll out, let's see if we can adjust our spins to line everything up. I mean, we're already starting to get the people who should be Tour Pro that are too afraid to go Tour Pro. So we'll have a little bit of an idea. 3 minutes? Alright, so I'll shoot this hole, and then we'll head out that way. So 4.3. There's the 4. 0.3, maybe a little too much there. Great shot. It's not going to help us drop that. Or maybe it will, since I over adjusted. No. You can see it got a lot larger rollout. Like I said, from that arc, you could tell whether or not it's going to roll long or pull up short. So which Royale is this? Alright, I'm getting out, because I know there's a little bit of a lag maybe. And let's do this Royale. I'm not sure I have the right clubs. We got 45 seconds to set our bag. So let's get a short iron in here. And we got the yellow jacket already in. So it's the Banff random. And let's change our ball because we don't want to waste waste a Pro D1. Alright, let's see how this Royale does. I'm going to try this different tablet holder. It'll hold my tablet a little higher in a different angle. See how it does as far as allowing me to adjust. Definitely hope we aren't in the same bracket. I hesitated there. But it's first round, so as long as we make a cut, we don't have to worry about it. So right now, I'm trying to work out how much power, curl, and timing I need to get my shots. So that way when I shoot them in the next rounds, and the second time on this one, I know whether I need more or less. It is Vivek, except for in the longer one, but that's okay. Once you kind of get down the speed to pull back and start hitting those ultimates, well, it looks like we got different brackets. Yeah, we really need to start getting an extra 2 or 3 shots off in these. That's way too much power on that shot. And we need more power on that one. More power on that one as well. This one should need less power, because it's going to start rolling downhill, but a little more power than that. A little better there. I forgot to more power on that. Put the more power on that, but it needed even more. That's better. Trying to use grates to offset the wind so I don't have to adjust as much. Not the best score, not the best finish. We'll get to the finals and see if we can step it up a little bit. We're really only about 1 shot, 2 shots behind, and you can see I only took 10. So I'm not going to spend as much time if we get the short iron again, just because those are costing me points. And if I'm going to take just a couple hundred points on them, I don't need to waste time on them. We do get a bunker this time, which will benefit me. Oh, blew it on that one. Somebody dropped it. A little more power there. A little more power there. Less power here. But a little more than that. A lot less power here. It's a long roll. Too much power that time. Still not enough. It's an odd angle for that wedge. I just did not do my best there. Not very good. Didn't even get up to 7,000 points. But some clubs, and those are important, because club upgrades, you know. 2 zeros cost you first. I could have taken a couple more shots and been a lot closer. I had a couple weeks and 1 0. I mean, that 1 0 is 500 points. That cost me at least third. So let's go back and look at this tournament. So let's look at our standings here. So a minus 12 needs a really good tiebreaker to crack that top 5. And we at least have a par 5 on the last hole. So hopefully we'll get about 1,500 at least there. So that takes us to 88. So we need to be pretty close here. So there's max root. Let's look at the arc of that club. So it's a shorter arc at about 1.8. So I'm going to go 2, give it a little rollout. It's going to bounce to the right, so a little left spin. It's also going to get extra push from the side wind. And we're going to go 4.7 rings. There's 4. .7. Hey Dean, thanks for the good luck. Thanks for the good luck, Duff. So just a little long. We bounced just on the right side of the cup. So we could have used another 0.1 in our adjustment or a little more side spin. So I'd say that was about 2.2 rings. Roll out at max. So we got 82. To get to third, we need a 1700. And to get into first and second, we need to drop it. Drop it's not very likely. Got a headwind. Remember, we want to keep on the right side. That pin is also in the furthest back of the left side of the green, which is a tough spot, especially if you have a short drive. So you definitely want to push the length of your drive there. But you want to stay to the right so you can come in from the left side of the fairway with top spin. I could use a wind resistant ball to make this a little easier. But like I said, there's no ball rewards, and I'd have to drop to get first or second. So it's not really worth it to me. At that point, it's just about bragging. I mean, I still do need 3 wins to hit my goal of 2,000 for the Ultimate Cup. But I have a whole week to get that, so hopefully I can get it within the week. Alright, so now we need to switch. We'll switch. That was a headwind to the El Capitan. Now you could use the Hellfire if you're a little higher. It's got a better accuracy and a little bit more distance, but it doesn't have as much top. Higher level, you're going to have a little more top. Thanks, Duff. Yeah, if it was one of the better tournaments, and if I got ball rewards back, it would be worth it. So at a 5.8, it's a crosswind, little head. I'm not going to worry about setting up shorter, and because I'll just barely pull into the overpower. So there's max top, max right. You can see I'm still going to need curl if I want to hold that green and get to that 1700 CP. I'm probably going to need a little bit of overpower as well. And that's tree, again, is why we keep to the right side of that fairway. Should have done without the overpower. That would have gotten us into our CP. I need to switch this because we did the Royale. Hey Sky, thanks for the good luck. So let's at least get this drop. If we'd had a little bit more curl on our club, or used a little, not used the overpower, we probably would have stayed on that green. But we are still close as far as getting the rough iron attempt. But we were going for it. So this is pretty short. If you look, if I zoom out to max, everything's within the ring. So I'm going to do a no adjust and set up about a cup short. This club is pretty accurate, so I should have some room for greats. But it doesn't matter if you hit ultimate. And you see that cup short, it came in at a really good speed. Didn't hit the pin, just dropped straight in. So the lack of tiebreaker, so we got $9.99 there. We could have gotten a little more, would have taken us up a little higher, but we weren't going to win. So let's go ahead and claim our reward here real quick. So as I've said in the past, I have bought the season pass. It gives you quite a bit of ball and club and cash rewards that I feel is a good deal. So I'm just going to show the standings on the Ultimate Cup. This is just a qualifying round. The ball payouts are pretty good. This is a tournament that you get to play in if you buy the season pass. So you can get special balls as rewards. And this is just a qualifying round. But in order to take first in the qualifying round, I need 4 drops. But I don't really need first. First isn't going to make a bit of difference in the qualifying round, only for the Ultimate Cup. So now we're going to go ahead and play the red tournament. The red tournament, like the blue tournament, is only diamond bag rewards. So unless you need it for the Ultimate Cup, it's not really worth the special balls. I believe I need a drop on this to take first as well. So lots of -12s. You know, people not making mistakes. This guy was right on the money for most of his shots. And one guy dropped an extra, an albatross. So I'm going to set up, just going center fairway. Not much of a rollout looking to get. This can turn past that bottleneck. So I want to keep it just kind of right in that area. You can see I used a little bit of a right curl. That way it wouldn't feed as much left. As Duff said, you get a pretty significant secondary win. I'm going to go with using, let's see, let me look at the bounce on the arc on the Spectre before I switch it out. Yeah, see, even at max, I'm not going to be in the position I want to be in for my rollout. That might be pretty close. Let's go ahead with the Spectre, because we have a tailwind. If I had a headwind, I'd need to switch to a basic club so I can use the Bigfoot. But here I get to be at absolute max for my setup. And I'm going to give it a little bit of extra. So I'm going to go 6.8 rings. So that's about 5%. There's 4. And 2.8. I'm just a little over adjusted. You know, probably 3% extra, 2% extra would have put us a little closer. But good, you know, tiebreaker points at least for that hole. .7 instead of 2.8, so go 6.7. Yeah, I believe that 0.1 probably would have done it. So we have a headwind, and we're in between clubs. So I'm going to switch, pull the root back out, and replace our Bigfoot with a basic club to allow me to have a spot to sit and set up. So there's the root, putting it in, and switching out for the basic there. And that should allow me to set up in the spot that I want. So that way I have the ability to make the visual for my adjustment. Not quite. Let's see, after adjustment, let me see how much, if this will give me 2 rings. So if I did 4.8, let's see if I would have 2 rings to push back. Because in that case I can push back. If not, I need to bounce up. Okay, so I will have the room to adjust and push back. So I'm going to set up with max back, first bounce at the pin, and then straighten out my guide. And then we'll adjust and push back rings. So there's the max back. A little too much. Let's go just a tad more because I'm going to have a little bit of extra wind push. There we go. I believe I said 4.8 out earlier. Yes, 4.8. I'm gonna go actually 4.5. And then I'm gonna push back 2 rings. Actually, that's a shorter bounce. So I'm gonna push back 1.5 rings. Or no, 2.5 rings, if I have it. So there's 4.8. Spin it around. Try to line that up. And 1.5 rings. Because I wanted to land 1.5 rings from the first bounce. Did I mess up my spins? That looks about right. Oh, I hit great. I guess it would have been about 2 rings. Maybe 1.8. But again, we stay close. We're not drop it close yet, but we're staying within the above 850, which is my standard goal. I already know we're going to need the Capitan for this, especially with the headwind. So let's go ahead, send the drive, and then switch clubs. 1 minute for the Royale. Alright, let's see if I can get into it. Although I hate the fairway Royales. I don't do very good at those. And since I have to switch clubs anyway. Alright, we got there in time. 30 seconds. Oh, gotta change that ball. Don't want to waste time during the Royale switching ball. Alright, so let's see. So I know T-Man is pretty decent at these, and Gavin. So we definitely have some better players playing in these. So we're starting off with a wedge. As you can see how many people already threw that first shot out there. I'm pretty slow when it comes to anything with the wedge. And we're just going to have wedge over and over again. Where's the rough part of it? So far it seems like I just need to quick fire this. Oh, that was a bad choice. Oh, I thought it said rough fairway. I thought that meant that I would get some rough. So I'm not making this cut. Too few shots. Yeah, eliminated. It didn't even ask. I needed at least 2 more shots, 3 more shots. I was taking too long there. Only 8 shots is too few. Alright, so back to what we were doing over here. I was getting Capitan out. So that way I can shoot the Capitan for the next shot and hopefully get on the green. I don't want to have to chip it. Hey Simon, thanks for the good luck. How are you doing today? So we have a strong headwind, and we need to be able to adjust 3 rings. So I'm going to set up. Three rings. I'm going to line up the second bounce. Got a headwind. Actually, I'm just going to put the second bounce in the cup. And I'm going to adjust 2.8 rings. Try not to move the shot after you set it up. Then you got to come back and do it all over again. But at least you got lots of time to do it. I could imagine that this would be a lot more difficult game if you had a 30-second shot clock to trying to set these up. So 2.8. We do hit ultimate, so hopefully we'll come in pretty close. Good first bounce. Just a little too much side spin, not enough adjustment for it. But we are in the 17s. I prefer to be in the 1750s. But that's a tough hole, so tough spot. Trying to spin it and keep it in place and safe. So again, with this hole, and if you look at the pin position, it's in a lot harder spot. It's in that bottom left, and you don't have a lot of room. So that may be a bounce up. Again, we're not going to overpower this. We don't want to risk rolling into the slanted part of the fairway and rolling rough. I'm just fine to sit there at about 260 and have my long or wood. My long iron or wood. But it looks like we have a long iron, Bigfoot, at about 90% club. So that's a good position to be in, given the placement and everything. So last time we gave this an extra 5%, and it was too much. So I'm going to do 2%, which will mean I'll be adjusting max. So a little bit longer bounce out. I'm going to do crosswind. I'm going to do 2.8. And I'm going to do 5.2 rings. So it was all wedge, Radu? I thought it said rough. Interesting. So there's the 4. Now we need 1.2. Good job. Who won it? Oh, okay, so the second was rough only. So we were well over adjusted there. You notice I didn't land on the green. I landed on the fringe, which is about a ring more. Chemist, okay. Haven't heard that one. So had I not given it some extra for the elevation, I would have been looking at 5 rings instead of 5.2. We were still in the 8s, but not exactly where we wanted to be. we're going to need to swap again. This course is really putting us in some awkward positions on the par 3s with our clubs. I never look at these other clubs. I always forget to go back once I kind of get in the swing with my clubs and double check the stats, as you're upgrading them so fast and you don't really think about it. So we're looking at about 4.9 rings is what we're going to need here. You notice I have a little bit more room to adjust than the El Capitan, so I'm a little bit safer, and I think I'll actually go 5 rings. See, our bounce out is a little flatter, so I'm going to go 2.5 rings from first bounce. So I'm going to go 2.7. Now let's line this up. I've been going long on all of my bounces, so and this being a tailwind, a little too much side spin there. Still, there we go. Go just a little longer because I keep being long. And I said 5 rings. And of course we're going to hit the min at 4. So I'm going to use my imagination. Push back up. And use underpower just a little bit. So I'm going to do circle break. Thought I'd have enough to make that adjustment without having to do that. Considering I had to kind of guess where that last ring and a half was, I'm happy with the result. The circle break underpower was more than enough. But I didn't pull, or pulled a little extra rings trying to come up with that last 1.2 rings. Given I had time, what I could have done was set it up at the not readjusted the spins, but taken the first bounce to the pin, pulled my adjustment, and then pushed 2 rings back, or as far back as I could, and then use the underpower. Or I could have bounced up with the lower club with the big foot. Those are 2 separate options for making that shot. Having a slight tailwind here helps. That'll allow us to get a little further and be a little safer with our second shot. Anytime you don't get double headwind on these long par 5s is really nice, especially when it's in this ugly position right here, because then you're looking at having to come in from the left with a setup like this, and trying to bounce it up there. But we got into max Bigfoot range with a slight tailwind. So let's look at the arch on our guide. So I'm actually going to want to let off a little backspin here, because I'd normally want to be at 1.5 rings. Let's line everything up. You can notice the second bounce and the third bounce, they're all going to compound going to the right. So you want some left spin to straighten that up and give you a little offset. .2 at max. It's going to be 4.6. So there's 4. .6. I'll let go early. Rush the shot. I think Ultimate Shot dropped that. That was our extra. I mean, 1797, dead length. You know, I wasn't that far off of Ultimate Shot. That's probably what we needed to win this one. Alright, so we have a little bit easier spot this time on this one. There is a slope on the back side of that pin, so you have to be careful not to have too much top going into it, or you will go off the back and lose your tiebreaker points. Again, I'm going to try to set up for the Bigfoot on this, so I'm not going to put but 1.5 top there. We're at short iron range, so look at the slope of this, and you can see once you get past about the square before the pin, it takes a pretty hard down slope, so you really don't want to go long if you have it to run up on this. Up until about this point, it's uphill, so if you're landing on this point here and you have that max backspin, you're going to spin back away from the cup. And let's see if it shows it here, if I can find that spot. You can see how hard it's going to kick to the left without the spins. Oh, I can't get it to show up. And you can kind of see it from this one. You know, we're talking more than a cup left of kick. And you can see our bounce on our second spot is 1.9 rings. And then the third bounce is 2.1 rings. So I'm going to pull back here, find a spot where I can really see that guide. I'm going to apply some spins to kind of straighten everything up. I'm going to put this at 2.1 rings with the ball guide on the right side of the cup. There we go. 6.5. I'm going to adjust 6.5. I'm gonna go 1 to 1. So there's 4. And there's 6.5. Just slight grate to the left. And I had a little too much power. But you can see how much that spun off to the left. And we were trying to straighten that up. And even with the spins we had, we didn't get enough straightened up. And I couldn't find that spot to show you how hard it kicks. Alright, so we did 2.8 last time. We had a pretty good distance. So we're going to do 5.3. It's a little bit of a tailwind, so I'm going to see real quick. Yeah, we're going to hit min. So I'm going to start. Right there. And then I'm going to push back the as much rings as I can. So there's 4. 5.3. So that's 2 rings pushed back, and I can get about 2.2, and I wanted 2.8. So I'm going to just do circle close power. And again, I'm hitting great. So we may not have pushed back straight there. As you can see, we came in a little right, but still fairly close. Circle break under power probably would have been better. Alright, let's see how far way up we can get with a minus 12. We got 86. So 1400 will take us to 10. So if we can get 1400 or better, we can take second place. And tiebreaker wise, we would have even been better than first if we would have gotten our drop. So we got double headwind. The pin is in the back, so we will have to use the Capitan and some top spin. It's a real shame I didn't get first on this, because I could have used those tiebreakers in my ultimate cup. Oh, 5.2 rings is what I would need. See if I have enough room to adjust 5.2. If I don't, I'll switch to the Hellfire. Oh yeah, I have enough room. Alright, so I'm going to go with this, so that way I can keep it close to get that tiebreaker. Look at the arch here. See what kind of bounce we get. It's a relatively short one. I'm going to go with 1.5 rings. And with headwind, I'm going to push it a little closer even to that. Now let's start lining up. So we got our max back. Gonna need a little bit of right spin. There we go. 6.4 is going to be 5.1. So there's 4. 1.1. We're going to need just a little bit of extra power there. So I'm going to take it to the bottom of the ring where it just turns white. We do hit ultimate shot. Hopefully we stick nice and close. Pin high, just a little bit under adjusted.
Perfectly fine setup out there.
Alright, so we end up in second. We got a little bit of tiebreaker gap. Pretty good tiebreaker overall. So, pretty decent round. All of our shots were within the 800 range. You know, nothing more than a few feet from the pin. Hopefully you guys can do better. Get those drops, get those high tiebreakers. I've got to get my kid into his virtual class, so I'm going to go ahead and sign out for now. Good luck. I'll see you guys later today.